Today, I'm going to talk about the top 10 winter steelhead fishing baits. What is up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Now, if you're a winter steelhead angler, you know that you'll brace some crazy elements to go out there and catch the fish of 1,000 casts. And picking the right winter steelhead fishing bait is just part of the equation towards success. So let's look at the top 10 winter steelhead fishing baits. Now, coming in at winter steelhead bait number 10 is this guy right here, a Corky and Yarny setup, one of the most ultimate, true, and old school techniques there is out there when it comes to winter steelhead fishing. Fishing with a Corky and a Yarny has been something that's been done for decades over and over again. It's effective, it works in low water conditions, it works in dirty water conditions at times, and this is just something that anglers have used for dozens and dozens of years. So when you hear anglers or those old school guys talk about the old school techniques and using baits, the Corky and Yarny is one of those. And the best part about the Yarny Corky setup is you're able to drift a very natural flow with this setup. But one of the biggest things with the Corky and Yarny is just adding a little bit of scent to that yarn, and that can make a big difference, especially when steelhead are sniffing around and looking for some bait or looking to feed as they're heading up the river. Having a little bit of scent on your Yarny is perfect. So whether you tie these up yourselves or you come to the store and get some pre-tied leaders like this one, the Corky and Yarny is a great way to go. Fly fishing flies. Now that is going to be bait number 9 for winter steelhead fishing, and primarily for flies. That's going to be for fly fishing anglers, for those chasing winter steelhead. One of the most epic takedowns and feels on a fly rod is a winter steelhead bite. And for me, I give kudos to those anglers that bear the elements, that are out there fly fishing and may make 10,000 casts before that really big epic takedown when it comes to fishing flies for winter steelhead. But the biggest thing for me when it comes to fishing flies for winter steelhead is getting them down far enough into the water, into the strike zone where that steelhead is hanging out. And especially in low clear conditions, fishing flies for steelhead can be one of the most fun baits out there. Now, coming in at winter steelhead bait number 8 is going to be something that, again, is very old school but catches a ton of steelhead, and that's going to be spoons. Now, again, spoons is a very old school technique, but with that wobble in the water, it's just something a little bit different. And because there are now so many different baits out there to chase winter steelhead, a lot of anglers forget that spoons are still highly effective, and especially chrome spoons. I don't like to go crazy fancy with, super bright chartreuse or pink and maybe a little bit of orange, but your chromes, maybe a little bit of blue, your copper, your bronze, your gold, those are the types of spoons you're going to want to use when you're chasing winter steelhead. And for me, these two tones with like the blue and the silver are perfect because it gives that a little bit of different edge and look in the water that the steelhead's going to like, and it's going to be something just a little bit different. And for all of you new school steelhead anglers, spoons catch a ton of steelhead, and I love these a little bit more than spinners at times, so make sure you got a few spoons in your bag and cast them out there, because you never know, that 20-pounder might be lurking right under your spoon. Now, coming in at bait number 7 is Spin and Glow and Coon Shrimp setup. Now, Spin and Glows and Coon Shrimp absolutely will catch a ton of winter steelhead, and you can use them while back trolling in a drift boat, but you can also use it bank fishing. Now, I've caught one of my biggest winter steelhead on a Coon Shrimp and a Spin and Glow. Let me tell you, those things are effective, and the fish aggressively will bite those Coon Shrimp. But don't overlook bank fishing with the Coon Shrimp and Spin and Glow, especially on high water levels in the river. It's a technique and a bait that you can use when the water's really high, those fish run a lot closer to the bank. You only have to cast it out a few feet, get your weight down there, get your Spin and Glow with your Coon Shrimp right in that travel lane where the steelhead are running, and you're going to have some really aggressive bites. And it's a bait that is just very versatile. Again, you can use it on the boat or use it from the bank. And just a quick pro tip, if you're going to be handling the Coon Shrimp, make sure you wear gloves and don't get that red dye all over your hands, because when you get home, your wife might start asking a lot of questions. Now, coming in at bait number 6 is going to be eggs, and eggs are just a great natural bait that steelhead absolutely love. And one way to really use eggs for winter steelhead is to create little spawn sacks where you have a little sack, you put your eggs in the middle, you wrap it up with some stringy thread, and you can utilize those to catch a lot of winter steelhead. But be very careful, because not every river allows you to fish bait, but the rivers you are allowed to fish bait, eggs are super effective, and eggs float just really naturally. So whether it's steelhead, steelhead or Chinook eggs. Get those out there, and you're going to start seeing, as you start using eggs more, that you're going to catch more and more steelhead. And I guarantee you, as you start maybe fishing some spawn sacks, that's a great way to change it up and fish a bait that not a lot of anglers are going to fish. And one little tip, when you're building your spawn sacks, add a little bit of a drop of gel or a little of your favorite scent right in the middle of those eggs before you get the spawn sack all wrapped up, and that's going to allow that extra element, that extra little scent trail behind that bait when you're out fishing it, and you're going to have some big takedowns for sure. Now, coming in at winter steelhead bait number 5, tried and true spinners. This is just something that is very easy, one of the easiest baits to fish for when it comes to winter steelhead. And for somebody who's getting into winter steelhead fishing, just an easy way to get somebody new into winter steelhead fishing on a really easy bait. You just make a cast and retrieve it back. Short, sweet, just a simple way to do it. And with spinners, you just have the versatility of you have different types, different models, there's different vibrations, there's all kinds of different chromes, all kinds of different sizes and colors and UV, and they just thump a lot differently depending on the model. And that's the beauty of fishing spinners for winter steelhead, is you may have success with one more than the other, but it gives you a big arsenal and a lot of different options that you can just change out spinners all day and cast out there. And sometimes it is just a color or a size or a vibration change that makes the biggest difference. But at the end of the day, spinners is a really, really great winter steelhead fishing bait, and probably the one that I used the most as I was learning to go chase winter steelhead, and an easy way for me to get out there, cover a lot of water, and just move around down the bank and just fish a ton of different holes. And then one pro tip is you want to make sure that your spinner hooks are sharp. You want to make sure that if you do get a steelhead bite, that hook is going to stay in there and be locked in there, because if you got dull hooks, you ain't catching a single steelhead. Don't ask me how I know. Now, coming in at number 4 is one of my favorite baits, and that's going to be steelhead worms. And the market has been flooded with a ton of different steelhead worms in different sizes, different colors from different manufacturers over the last 5 to 6 years. Now, don't get me wrong, I love fishing worms. It's a great, easy bait to add onto a little jig head, fish it under a bobber, and just make a cast and go. It's one of the simpler baits like spinners or even jigs. First steelhead I ever landed was on a worm. So in my heart, I love and have an affinity for fishing worms for winter steelhead. And one of the great parts about fishing worms is they are very versatile. You can use the same worm to fish and catch multiple different fish as long as it's not chewed up. And worms are great because you can swap out colors very, very easily. Some of mine are favorite are black and pink, pink pearl, pink and blue, pink and white, and orange. Those are some of my favorite worm colors, and worms are very versatile in different water conditions, from high water to low water to off color to really clear water. Worms are the best. And don't overlook, again, these black worms, because sometimes something that's just very dark in low clear water can be dynamite. Now, coming in at bait number 3 is, again, one of my all-time favorites and something I love to use as well for trout fishing and salmon fishing, and that is jigs. And that is, now, like worms, as we said before, jigs are an easy thing to fish underneath the bobber and a great way to just cast something out there in shallow water, dirty water, fast water, off-colored water. Jigs are really versatile, and you can swap out different sizes and different colors very easily and get yourself the right combination to catch steelhead. And one of the best reasons why I also love jigs is you can add a little scent, but you can also tip them with a little bait. So maybe a little bit of egg. I've seen guys tip it with like lobster and shrimp. Well, let me tell you, shrimp is a great bait to add onto your jig. A little bit of scent added in there, and this is going to be a killer bait when it comes to chasing steelhead. And the jigs these days are really heavy duty hook. It's marabou feathered, and some of these jigs get down to 1/16 and even 1/32. Those small little jigs, unlike some of the other baits that are a little bit bigger, but these small jigs pack a big punch and can be just the ticket for the big steelhead. Now, coming in at winter steelhead bait number 2, this is one of the most popular baits that has been fished in probably the last 10 years, and the market has been flooded with all kinds of different styles and colors. Fishermen love to fish these when it comes to winter steelhead, and that's going to be beads. With the ascension of beads in winter steelhead fishing, this has by far become one of the most popular baits in the last 5 to 10 years. You see companies making hard beads, you see companies making soft beads, they got UV in them now. There's companies like like B&R tackle, arrow baits. Companies are making dozens and dozens of different colors. They got different elements in there. There's about every single color of pink and orange winter steelhead baits out there that you can imagine possible. You can catch some 20-pound giants with these baits, but you can also just catch a lot of winter steelhead with beads. And as I said earlier, I love spinners because you have so many color options. When it comes to bead fishing, you literally have dozens, if not hundreds of different bead color options. And so once you find those right bead colors on the perfect conditions and you start to figure out some patterns, fishing beads is one of the most epic ways to catch a lot of steelhead, or like myself, my personal best. So now we've gone through baits 2 through 10. Well, what is winter steelhead bait number 1? Well, you'll be surprised to know it's plugs. Now, the reason why plugs are number 1 is any angler or any guide out there will catch a winter steelhead with a plug, whether you're back trolling them or if you're using a side planer from the bank. The versatility of plugs absolutely catches steelhead no matter what. I'll see anglers go down a hole fishing beads and jigs and spinners and worms, nothing. You get one of these plugs in a steelhead's face and it's got nowhere to go, they will absolutely crush these plugs, and the takedown of winter steelhead plugs is one of the coolest things that you can see as an angler. And as a guide, when you see that tip fold over, oh man, your heart just sinks and you can't wait for that big fight. So if you want to catch a lot of winter steelhead, grab some of these plugs, especially the Yakima bait Dr. Death color, and get ready to fill your freezer up and fill your phone up with lots of photos of big steelhead. And there you guys have it, the top 10 winter steelhead fishing baits. Hope you guys got some great information from the video today, and if you want more, I've got a video here on the top 10 winter steelhead fishing secrets.